So the first chapter, it starts with the prayers of Swayambhuva Manu and explains about the first, second, third, and fourth Manus. And each of the Manvantara will have 6 different personalities, and all the 6 different personalities have been explained for the first 4 Manvantaras. And in the last 4th Manvantara, Lord activity which is mentioned is Lord saves Gajendra from the crocodile. And hearing that, Parikshit Maharaj raises a question: can you explain me more about this pastime? For that, Sukadeva Goswami replies or explains the complete story of Gajendra in detail for next 3 chapters. And later, he again comes back explaining about the Manvantaras. So the 5th and 6th Manvantaras. And at the end of 6th Manvantara, again, Sukadeva Goswami says, like, the activities of the Lord Ajita is churning of the milk ocean. Here again, Parikshit Maharaj asks, can you please explain in detail about this Samudra Manthan pastime? Basically, he puts forward 4 questions. For that, Sukadeva Goswami answers in detail about the Samudra Mantana pastime, and that we are discussing in today's session. So in the yesterday's session, we have discussed how demigods were defeated by demons. So that was due to the curse of the sage Durvasa, and all the demigods have reached Lord Brahma and asked to save them or to restore their position. And Lord Brahma, in order to find a solution, he, along with Lord Shiva and all the demigods, go to the place called Shvetadvipa, where the Supreme Lord Vishnu or Krishna stays. So yesterday, Lord Brahma had prayed to Lord Vishnu at Shvetadvipa. In today's chapter, we will see whether Lord appeared or not. So in response to the prayers of Brahma, the Supreme Lord Hari appears before the demigods. And what are the consequent, what is the consequent story we'll be seeing today. In this, in the top, there is a typo. It is chapter 6. The first 7 verses of chapter 6 describe the Supreme Lord appears before demigods. So when the Lord appears, how exactly the demigods see the Lord, what are the characteristics of the Lord, that will be explained in first 7 verses. And next 8 to 15 verses, after seeing the Lord in jubilation, Lord Brahma again starts praying. So before this chapter, Lord Brahma was praying, and because of that prayers, Supreme Lord appeared. And again on seeing the Lord, Brahma again starts prayers for the Lord. So yeah, we will see one more prayers. And after the prayers of Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu gives instruction to the demigods to churn the milk ocean. Basically, you come to a truce with the demons, you start churning the milk ocean, and later how the demigods and demons, their combined effort came to churn the milk ocean in the 27 to 39 verses. So let us get started with the verses. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Sri Sukha Uvacha Evam Stutah Suraganair Bhagavan Harir Ishwaraha Tesham Avirabhud Rajan Sahasrarko Dayadyutihi. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, being thus worshipped with the prayers by the demigods and Lord Brahma, appeared before them. His bodily effulgence resembled the simultaneous rising of 1,000 suns. So here we can understand Lord is not visible to our normal eyes. So whenever Lord wants to, or it is the mercy of the Lord, whenever he gives that opportunity, we can see him. So after the prayers of Lord Brahma and even all the Suraganayar, so all the demigods, later Lord appeared before them. And how he appeared? He appeared like Sahasra Arka Udaya Dyutihi, means thousands of suns simultaneously rising. So whenever, if in the mid-afternoon, if we go outside and see the sun, if we, in the first few seconds, right, we will not be able to see anything because of the effulgence of the sun. Now consider thousands of suns rising at a go. Then what will happen to the demigods is described in the next verse. तेनैव सहसा सर्वे देव प्रतिहते क्षणाः नापस्यान् खं दिशः क्षौनीम् आत्मानं चकुतो विभुम्. So the vision of all demigods was blocked by the Lord's effulgence. So whenever we see the single sun, as we can see in the picture, our eyes will start glaring. Now, what to speak of the condition of the demigods? They were seeing the effulgence of thousands of suns in front of them. So their vision was completely blocked by the Lord's effulgence. Thus, they could neither see the sky, the directions, nor the land, nor even themselves. Then what to speak of seeing the Lord who was present before them? So due to that effulgence, they are not able to see any of the things or not even themselves. Then what to speak of Lord who is standing in front of them? Virincho Bhagavan Drishtva Sahas Sarvena Tam Tanum Swacham Marakatashyamam Kanjagarbharunekshanam. So after that, now demigods and Lord Brahma are seeing the Lord. Now, the next few verses will be explaining about how the Lord looks, how beautiful he looks, and what are the ornaments he wears, and what are the characteristics, the smiling face, and etc. Everything is described in next few verses. So, Virincha Bhagavan Drishtva Sahasarvena Tam Tanum. So, it means Lord Brahma along with Lord Shiva saw the crystal clear personal beauty of Supreme Lord. And how the beauty is, his blackish body resembles a Markata gem, and Kanja Garbharunekshanam, his eyes are reddish like the depth of a lotus. So his body is resembling a blackish body, resembles a Markata gem. Generally, a Markata gem is in blue, and his body, it is considered as blackish blue. And his eyes are reddish like the depth of a lotus. This is how his body and eyes are seen. So this is the actual description of Lord, how he is looking, and it is described by none other than Lord Brahma. Tapta hema vadatena lasat kaushesha vasasa prasanna charu sarvangim sumukim sundara bruvam. His yellow silk garments are like molten gold. His entire body is attractively decorated. So prasanna charu sarvangam, his entire body is attractively decorated. Sumukim sundara bruvam, his smiling face and eyebrows are very beautiful. So his smiling face and his eyebrows, they are very much beautiful. So Lord always comes in Pita Vasasam. So the yellow silk garments, and those are looking like the molten gold, as we can see in the first picture. His entire body is decorated. His smiling face and eyebrows are very much beautiful. Mahamani kiritena keyurabhyam chabhushitam karnabharana nirbhata kapola shri mukhambujam. So his crown is bedecked with valuable jewels. He is decorated with all kinds of ornaments. His beautiful earrings illuminate the cheek of his beautiful lotus face. So all the valuable jewels are bedecked in the Lord's crown, and he is decorated with all kinds of ornaments. So it is said that ornaments for the general people give additional beauty. But when ornaments are placed on the Lord's body, ornaments will get additional beauty because they are on the Lord's body. That is how the glare, or that is how the beauty of the Lord is. So Lord doesn't need any additional ornaments to look more beautiful. But when the ornaments are there on the Lord's body, ornaments will be more beautiful than how they were earlier. So his beautiful earrings illuminate. So whenever the hangings of his earrings are there, that reflection was being seen on the cheeks of the Lord's beautiful face. Kanchikalpa valaya haranupura shobhitam kaustubhabharanam lakshmim bibhratim vanamalinim. He wears a belt on his waist, bangles on his arms. He is adorned with necklaces and anklets. He wears the Kaustuba gem and carries Lakshmi with him. He moves with beautiful flower garlands. So all the things in this world are to be utilized in the service of the Lord. So whenever we see anything beautiful around us, our consciousness should be like, this beautiful thing was created by Lord, and let me try to offer it to that Supreme Lord who is the creator of this entire cosmic manifestation. So he wears a belt and bangles on his arms. He is adorned with necklaces and anklets. He wears a Kaustuba gem and carries Lakshmi in his heart. And he moves with beautiful flower garlands. So Vanamalini. So as we can see, Lord moves around with very beautiful flower garlands. Sudarshanadibhi swastrair murtimadbhir upasitam tushtava deva pravaraha sarvashah purushah param sarvamara ganeshakam sarvangir avanim gataihi. So Lord, he bears his weapons like Sudarshana disc and club. So as we can see, Lord always has 4 things in his hand: the chakra, shanka, kada and padma. So Lord always carries these 4 things. So Sudarshana Adivihi, and he is worshipped in his original form. The original form of that Supreme Lord is the form of Lord Krishna, who stays in Goloka and who will be having eternal pastimes with all his associates in the Goloka. The demigods offered obeisances upon seeing the Lord's beautiful form. So whenever one sees the Lord's beautiful form, they immediately offer obeisances. We can see this in the example of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, and many other great souls. So whenever Dhruva Maharaj saw Supreme Lord in the forest, he offered obeisances, and happened same with the Prahlad Maharaj. Here, the demigods offered obeisances upon seeing the Lord's beautiful form. So the first 7 verses have been explained about how Lord appeared before the demigods and what happened next. Now, upon seeing the Lord with jubilance, Lord Brahma again starts his prayers for the next few verses. Sri Brahmovacha Ajata Janma Sthiti Samyamaya Gunahya Nirvana Sukarnavaya Anoranimne Pariganya Dhamne Mahanubhavaya Namo Namaste. So here it is said, Lord Brahma said, although you are never born, Ajaha, Your appearance and disappearance as an incarnation never cease. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says he will appear millennium after millennium. You are always free from the material qualities. So he is avyaya, he is transcendental. And you are the shelter of transcendental bliss, resembling an ocean. So he is the supreme shelter of everyone. Eternally existing in your transcendental form, you are the supreme subtle of the most extremely subtle. So whatever is the most subtle form in this material world, he is most subtle than that. He is even more subtle than that. We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme, whose existence is inconceivable. So here, Lord's inconceivable nature has been described by the Lord Brahma. He says, you are never born. So this we can understand. So if someone understands Lord's birth and his activities as discussed in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna, Krishna says, whoever understands the secret of my birth and my transcendental activities, so that person, so he will get liberated. He will not have again birth in this world. So here we need to understand that Lord is not, he's not born. Whatever we see in this material world, Lord coming and going is similar. So Acharya says that they are similar to how sun is rising and sun is going down in the evening. So it is just like sun appearing and disappearing. It doesn't mean that sun is there at night. Similarly, Lord appears and disappears in this material world, similar to sun's appearance. Now, it is to be understood that Lord body activities are all transcendental, being free from the contamination of material modes. So that material modes, the three modes, cannot even touch the Supreme Lord because he is beyond the modes of the nature. Ajopi san avyayatma. So he is ajaha, he is unborn, and avyaya, his body is transcendental to the three modes. Ajopi san avyayatma. Bhutanam Ishwaropi San, he is the Lord of all living entities. Prakritim Swamadhisthaya Sambhavam Yatma Mayaya. Lord appears in this material world based on his will, not like us. So he is Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. It is by his own will Lord appears in this world. And in the next verse, it is said, which is the worshipable form of that Supreme Lord. Rupam tataivat purusharsha bhejyam shreyorti bhir vaidika tantrikena yogena data sahanastri lokan pasyamyamusmin uhavishwamurtau. O best of persons, O Supreme Director, those who actually aspire for supreme good fortune, worship this form of your lordship according to Vedic tantras. Oh, my Lord, we can see all three worlds in you. So the Lord is also known as Vishwamurtau, or Lord is addressed here as Vishwamurtau. He is having the universal form. So as we already seen in Bhagavad Gita, all the future, past, present, everything is there in the universal form. And all the worlds, all the 14 planetary systems are present in the Lord's universal form. Here, the demigods are saying that those who actually aspire for supreme good fortune, they worship your form, whatever they are seeing, that beautiful form of the Supreme Lord, they need to worship that particular form of Lord. And as they can see the three worlds. Here it is said, Lord doesn't have any beginning, middle, and end. So this is the most distinctive feature of the Lord. Apart from Lord, everyone has the beginning, middle, and end in this material world. But Supreme Lord is that Anadiradir Govinda. He doesn't have any birth. It is said, or Lord Brahma says like this: Tvayagra asit, Tvayimadhya asit, Tvayanta asit, Idamatma tantre, Tvamadiranto Jagatasya madhyam, Gatasya mritsvena parasmat. My dear Lord, who are always fully independent, this entire cosmic manifestation arises from you. So as we know, this entire cosmic manifestation, Lord enters into this material world as Mahavishnu. And from the Mahavishnu's body, all the universes emanate. And Lord again enters into each of the universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And Garbhodakshai Vishnu creates Brahma, who creates all the living entities. And again, Lord enters into all the living entities as Paramatma. So he is seated in each and every living entity in their heart as Paramatma. So this entire cosmic manifestation is arising from that Lord, which Lord Brahma is seeing. And everything is rests upon you. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, as pearls strung on a thread, this entire material cosmic, or this entire mass cosmic manifestation rests upon me. So we can just see the pearls, but we never realize what is there inside that pearls, which is keeping them together. Similarly, all these universes are resting upon the Supreme Lord. They rest upon you and ends in you. Your Lordship is the beginning, sustenance, and end of everything. So he doesn't have Adi, Madhya, and Anta. And like the earth, which is the cause of an earthen pot, which supports the pot, and to which the pot, when broken, finally returns. We know that the pot is made of earth. And once the pot is old and broken, whenever it is again discarded, it will go and mix with the earth. Similarly, the case is with all of our living entities. We are like that pots, and Lord is considered as that supreme law as earth. And whenever we are invalid and discarded, so we will again go back and again take a new form. So ideally, we should try to go back or stop this cycle of birth and death and find a way to go back to that supreme abode. So the pot again goes back into mud, and again if it becomes again one more pot that we don't want as a living entity, we should not take birth again. We should try to close this chapter as soon as possible and return back to Godhead. And it is said, because Lord has created all this cosmic manifestation, we might think that Lord is also like one of us, and he also has the karma associated with it. It is not like that. Tvam mayayatma shreya swayedam nirmaya vishvam tadanu pravishtaha pasyanti yukta manasa manishino guna vyavaye pyagunam vipassitaha. O Supreme, you are independent in yourself and do not take from help from others. So Lord is independent. He does not require anyone's help because he is the creator of everything. Through your own potency, you create this cosmic manifestation and enter into it. Those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness, who are fully in knowledge of this of the authoritative Shastra, and who through the practice of Bhakti Yoga are cleansed of all material contamination, can see with clear minds that although you exist within the transformations of material qualities, your presence is untouched by these qualities. So it is said, Lord is completely independent and he does not require anyone's help in order to perform any of his activities. So he has his own potencies, the internal and external. And by that, he creates this cosmic manifestation. And as discussed earlier, he enters into it as Mahavishnu. So these things, whatever we have discussed, this can be understood only by the people who are advanced in Krishna consciousness by practicing of Bhakti Yoga. So we will get this knowledge by the mercy of Guru and the Supreme Lord. So until and unless we surrender to that particular person who is a authorized bona fide Acharya, we will not be able to understand this qualities of the Supreme Lord, and we will think that he is one more great king or one more great personality, or if one is too lower graded, then they will just think that it is just a myth that he has appeared. So until and unless we take shelter of such great personalities, we will not be able to understand Supreme Lord's transcendental qualities, the original supreme truth. So here, everything, whatever is created in this material world are the transformations of the three gunas. Now, even Supreme Lord has created these three gunas, and that transformation has created everything. But the Lord is untouched by these qualities. That is what it says. Guna vyavaye pyagunam vipassitaha. So the Lord is avyava of these gunas. So everything is working under the supervision of Lord's direction. So the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sacharacharam Hetunanena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. So Maya Adhyakshena, so under my direction, Prakriti, this material nature is producing Suyate Sa Chara Acharam. So the moving and unmoving things are being produced by Prakriti under my direction. So by its rule, manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So everything is programmed by that Supreme Lord, and everything runs on its own after the Supreme Lord has created it. Yatagnim yedasyamritam cha goshu bhuvyannamambudyamane cha vrittim yogair manusya adiyanti hitvam guneshu buddhya kavayo vadanti. So as one can derive fire from wood, milk from the milk bag of cow, food grains and water from the land, and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises. So by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, even in this material world, one can achieve your favor or intelligently approach you. Those who are pious all affirm this. So here there are a couple of analogies described. So as fire can be achieved in the wood. So if we take wood and rub it against each other, the old form of generating the fire was they used to have two woods in the predefined shape, and they try to rotate it against each other, which would cause the fire. So thing which we can understand from this is, until and unless we have the association of this devotees in this material world, we will not be able to get that particular or reach the higher level in the devotional service. So a single piece of wood cannot produce a fire until and unless it is rubbed against the another piece of wood. Similarly, milk from the milk bag of cow. So here, the milk bag of cow, if we directly go and try to take the milk from the milk bag of cow, cow will not give milk profusely. So until and unless a calf is sent to the cow, and calf starts drinking the milk, then only cow starts giving milk profusely. So that is why all the people who do business, they just send the calf in the first moment and again take it back. So that is not the ideal way which was described in Vedas and Shastras. Ideally, cow produces double of whatever the calf, whatever the milk is required for calf. So first, let the calf should drink the half, and later whatever is remaining, that should be utilized for the living beings. So that is how it was. But now people started exploiting this nature of mother cow. And later, the food grains and water from the land and prosperity in one's livelihood from industrial enterprises. So how the food grains and food grains are sown into the land, and again they became trees, and again they give back food grains. Similarly, one should try to practice this Bhakti Yoga. So we will see how to practice Bhakti Yoga in short statements. So yeah, we have seen the statement of we need to practice Bhakti Yoga in the earlier verse. Let us see what are the stages. So one can begin Bhakti Yoga only by the mercy of spiritual master and Krishna. It is said, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bija. So the seed of the devotional service in one's heart is placed by Guru and Krishna only. Only these two people can put that seed. But once the seed is sown, we require some water for the plant to grow. That is the association of devotees around us. Next, once we have that, then we need to approach, inquire, and render service to that bona fide spiritual master. So this is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Tadviddi pranipatena pariprashnena sevayat. Upadeshanti te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So we need to approach that spiritual master and inquire him submissively and render service to him. So at least we need to be accountable for one person so that we will be understanding our progress in devotional service. If not, we will be hanging over all the time and there will be no progress in the devotional service. And under that Supreme Master's direction, one must cultivate Bhakti Yoga. So what is that Bhakti Yoga? Shravanam Kirtanam Smaranam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atmanivedram. So we have already seen this statement by Prahlad Maharaj in our Narsimha Nirajanam sessions. So there are 9 different ways of performing Bhakti Yoga. It is not like we need to perform all the ways in order to get the mercy of that Lord. Even if we are very good at one of this way or one of this path, we will be able to achieve that Supreme Lord. So, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. So, daily you all are joining this sessions in the morning in the Brahma Muhurta. We are doing Shravanam as well as Kirtanam. So all the other things, Smaranam and all the other things will follow after this session in our daily life, because we will be remembering this and we will be doing the service to the Lord. Then even within this material world, although Lord is not visible, a devotee can see him. So once we understand with the mercy of that Supreme Guru and Lord, that Lord is present everywhere, then in all of our activities, we can see the Lord's presence. So Krishna says, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yachashmi tattataha. And Krishna even says, Mudoyam na abhijanati, the fools cannot understand me. And Bhaktya mam abhijanati, only devotees can understand me. So this is how we need to practice Bhakti Yoga. So we need to identify a guru, approach, inquire, render service, and under his direction we need to cultivate Bhakti Yoga, and with the association of devotees we need to progress by inspiring each other and we need to experience the Lord in all of our activities. Okay, so we'll see next few verses as time is ending. Tam tvam vayam nada samojjihanam sarojanaabhati chirepsitardham drishtva gatani vritamādya sarve gaja davarta iva gangamambah. Elephants afflicted by a forest fire become very happy when they get water from the Ganges. Similarly, O my Lord, from whose navel grows a lotus flower, since you have now appeared before us, we have become transcendently happy. By seeing your Lordship, whom we have desired to see for a very long time, we have achieved our ultimate goal of life. So, as elephants, whenever there is a forest fire, elephants, they become very happy when they see water which is coming from the Ganges, because all the water in this world is ideally coming from the Ganges. That is what Ganges is entering this universe from the top, and it is taking sub branches all across. So this is an analogy. So as demigods are too much happy seeing the Lord in front of them. So they are saying, by seeing your Lordship, whom we have desired to see for very, very long time. So all the demigods are desiring to see that Lord. And now, after seeing that Lord, they are saying they achieved their ultimate goal of life. So basically they forgot whatever is the reason for which they came. And they are saying, now we have achieved our ultimate goal of life. So even if one forgets what they need to ask, that happens in the case of Dhruva Maharaj also. So Dhruva Maharaj went to that Supreme Lord for a material boon, but when he saw, he started praying to that Lord, but Lord doesn't forget and he reminds. Sattvam vidatsva kila lokapala vayam yadartastava pada moolam samagataste bahitantaratman kimvanya vignapyamasesha sakshinaha. May we, the various demigods, the directors of this universe, have come to your lotus feet. Please fulfill the purpose for which we have come. You are the witness of everything from within and without. Nothing is unknown to you, and therefore it is unnecessary to inform you again of anything. So here they are saying that you know everything. We came here to pray you. Now you are in front of us. What is that we need to tell to you? You know everything. So please advise us what to do. So we will not tell you our problems because you already know our problems. So that is the faith one needs to have. One should not go to the spiritual master and again remind him like what he needs to do. So everyone or the bona fide spiritual master, they will give the proper directions. We need to take it forward, their instructions. So similarly, the Supreme Lord, there is no need to remind him of what he needs to give to us. So the same mood we should have whenever we take darshan of that Supreme Lord in the temple. So we should not go and ask, Lord, give me this, Lord, give me that, Lord, I am going to this exam, Lord, give me XYZ. So we should go and say, you know everything, just give me whatever is benefit for me in order to progress in devotional service. So, because Lord is seated in our heart and he knows everything and what is beneficial for us. So that is what we can learn from this prayers of demigods. Aham giritrascha suradayo ye daksha dayogner iva ketavaste kim va vidamesh pratak vibhata vidatsvasam no dvijadeva mantram. I, Lord Brahma, Aham, Giritas, Lord Shiva, and Suradayo, all the demigods, accompanied by Prajapatis like Daksha, are nothing but sparks illuminated by you, who are the original fire. So generally we see people like we need to find few verses where it is mentioned like Lord Vishnu or Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. If we see the prayers or if we keenly understand the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, everywhere in every nook and corner, it is mentioned like Krishna or Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead everywhere. So here it is said like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and everyone are just the sparks coming out of fire. So this verse also says that Krishna or Vishnu is the supreme personality of Godhead. Because if there is no fire, there is no point of having sparks associated with it. And compared to sparks, fire is permanent. Spark will be there for a few moments. Similarly, a universe will be emanating for few moments, and again it will be going back into the body of Mahavishnu. So the spark is for a moment, and all these living entities are for a moment. So since we are particles of you, what we can understand about our welfare? So they are saying we are just part of you. So we cannot think of our welfare. So we are handing it over to you now. Whatever you think beneficial for us, you please do. That is what they are saying. What they are saying, what we can understand about our welfare. O Supreme Lord, please give us the means of deliverance that is suitable for the Brahmanas and the demigods. So he is there. Lord Brahma is ending saying, Supreme Lord, please give us the deliverance, because this world is to be maintained. So there are three phases: creation, maintenance, and destruction. And because they are at the mid, it is not like the Manvantara's end, it is in the middle. So the world should be maintained, but that world cannot be maintained by asuras. So in order to continue the maintenance of the world, the devatas should be restored their positions. So that is why Lord Brahma is asking, give us the means of deliverance that is suitable for Brahmanas, the sages, and demigods, the devatas. So Lord Brahma has asked to restore or give them a means on how to restore. For this, now next few verses, Lord Vishnu instructs. So we have seen how Supreme Lord appeared before the demigods and the prayers of Lord Brahma after Lord's darshan. So based on the time, we will be ending today's session at here. And tomorrow we will see the next two sessions. So what exactly is the plan of Lord Vishnu in order to make or restore the position of Devatas, and what exactly is the story happening, the Samudra Manthan pastime. So with this, we'll be ending today's session. If anyone has any queries, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna, Kranti Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you for the very beautiful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, I wanted to ask one question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu,
voice is very low, Prabhu, for me.
Is it okay now? Is it better?
Yeah, it is manageable. Yes, Prabhu.
Now we have seen that Indra is actually cursed by, the demigods are cursed by Durvasa Muni here. That is the context.
Yes.
And we also have seen in the just in one or two verses before we entered that it is in the middle of the Manvantara and maintenance is the most important, and Asuras cannot maintain.
Correct.
So these facts would have definitely been known to Indra as the king of all the demigods. Then what made him to be so careless and commit this mistake? So a person like Indra, a person who is in the post of Indra, who is actually supposed to understand the implications of his behavior, and is supposed to be very careful. But time and again we see that this happens to Indra in other Manvantaras also. So what is the reason that a person in a very responsible position who is a devotee also sometimes becomes very careless.
Yes, Prabhu. So, yeah, ideally, I should ask you this question. But however, yeah, because I was in this context, let me put some points forward. So, first thing is uh, to demonstrate that anyone in this material world is not perfect. So, even it could be the post of Indra, or it could be a person in heavenly planets. And if one is pure, he will be going back to Godhead. So if he has done very much pious activities, he will be going to the heavenly planets. Or if he has performed 100 or 1000 Ashwamedha Yajnas, he will become Indra. That is what it is said. So until and unless one is pure, if he is pure, he'll go back to Supreme Goloka. If he has some material attachments or some material tinge, he'll still remain. So that ego part will still be there, and that will hit the living entity time and again. So because of that, might be the Lord Indra had that ego part, and whenever he is of full material opulence, he thought that, okay, I am the king of Devatas, now I can do whatever I want. So that might be one. And second thing is, someone should be part of the act of Lord pastimes. So if Indra doesn't do that, then we might not have this pastime to discuss. So this is all an arrangement of that Supreme Lord, because as said in Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna is not under that illusion, but Krishna has put Arjuna into the illusion mode so that he can speak Bhagavad Gita to the entire world. So this too I can think of, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, as said, all the demigods, they are great devotees of the Lord. But whenever, yeah, even in our festivals, we do drama. So few of the devotees will be taking as Ravana or whatever it may be. But that is because, or that is under the direction. So similarly, this also could be.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu, Nagaraj Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, as you said, Prabhuji, as a supreme personality, he can do by just by wink of his, just by wink he can do things. But as we see in milk, churning the milk ocean is very elaborated plan or very elaborated thing. So this is just for discussion for our like our devotees or maybe who want to perfect in Bhakti Yoga, but them to encourage people in Bhakti Yoga. Because of this, the Lord has planned so much elaborately, if I guess.
Yes, Prabhu. So in order to discuss the Lord's pastimes, right, in each of the pastime, we can understand the greatness of the Lord, and even Lord gives opportunity to demonstrate his devotees' greatness. As we can see in the next coming chapter, we will see the greatness of Lord Shiva also. So how much great is Lord Shiva? And
Okay.
yeah, so so whenever the churning of milk ocean happens, we have many lessons to understand.
Yes, sir.
So there are many things which are coming out of the churning of milk ocean.
Because he is so supreme, he can do anything by just magic. Otherwise, he would not.
Yeah, so to restore the demons is not a big thing for Lord, because
Yes.
we will see whenever in the next chapter. So when they are getting the mountain, so in order to churn the milk ocean, they need that Mandara mountain. So Devatas and demigods, or Rakshasas and Devatas, they go and bring the mountain. Because the mountain is so heavy, they get the mountain, and at the point, all the Devatas and Rakshasas die. But in order to continue this pastime, Lord again restores Devatas and Rakshasas. Both they will become again live. So if Lord wants, right, he can only make Devatas live again and leave the Rakshasas. So it is all part of Lord's plan so that he can demonstrate. That is why now we have the kurma, so the tortoise which will go under, and it will keep the mountain on its back, because that we can understand that even Lord Brahma Shiva, no one can withhold that mountain, but Lord in the form of Kurma can withhold. That gives the strength of the Supreme Lord.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, it is all the plan of Lord.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so if we don't have any more, we can end the session for today. And please join in tomorrow. We will see the Supreme Lord's instruction to the Devatas and how they progress in this Samudra Manthan. Thank you all for joining in.